Okay, so today we're simplifying the rational expression. And so for our first problem, we have 4m squared plus 12m plus 5 over 6m squared plus 13m minus 5. So what we're going to do first, we're going to separate those into two separate quadratic equations. And then we're going to factor them. Okay, so we're going to break this down into 4 terms. That's going to be 4m squared plus 10m plus 2m plus 5. And then we're just going to group those together. We're going to factor out the 4. Okay, so what we have now is 4m squared plus 10m plus 2m plus 5. So now we're going to group these. And then we find the greatest common factor between them. 2m. And this is going to be 1. Okay, so we're going to 2m parentheses 1 parentheses. So it's going to be 2m and then this one's going to be 2m plus 5. Okay, so we get to mark out one of these since these are the same. So now what's left, we have 2m plus 5 and 2m plus 1. So that's going to be the top of ours. Okay, so now we move on to the second one, which is 6m squared plus 13m minus 5. Okay, so we're going to rewrite this as 6m squared plus, let's see, 2 and 3, 15, 4,
Okay.
okay, so that's going to be 6m squared plus 15m minus 2m minus 5. And then we're going to group those. Okay, so the greatest common would be 3m for that one. And then for this one, it's going to be 1. Okay, so we're going to put 3m right here, 1 right here. And we're going to put 2m. And then this is going to be plus 5. And then for this one, we're going, oh, well, this is going to be a negative 1. This is going to be 2m plus 5. So we get to mark one of those out. So what we have left is 2m plus 5. And then 3m minus 1. Okay, so we get to mark one of those out. Well, both of these actually. And then the remaining is 2m plus 1 over 3m minus 1. And that's it for number 1. On to number 2.
Again.
Okay, so now number 2 is 2m squared minus m minus 3 over 3m squared minus 8m minus 3 times 3m plus 1 over 2m minus 3. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and factor these two right here. m squared, that's going to be
Go.
okay, so this is going to be 2m squared plus 2m minus 3m minus 3. Okay, so now we're going to group these together. And then the greatest common factor between these two is going to be 2m. And then between these two is going to be -3. Okay, so 2m open parentheses. And then -3 open parentheses. Yeah. And then this is going to be m plus 1. Okay, so we get to get rid of one of these. And so the top half of our first one is going to be 2m minus 3. Oh, and m plus 1. Okay, so now for the second one, 3m squared minus 8m minus 3. Only 3m squared. Let's see. Okay, so this is actually going to be 3m squared plus 1m, which is basically m, minus 9m, and then minus 3. And then, of course, we're going to group. Okay, so the greatest common factor between these two is the m. And then between this one is going to be the -3. M. It's going to be 3m plus 1. And then for this one, it's going to be 3m plus 1. Okay, so we get to mark one of those out. And so this one's going to be 3m plus 1 and m minus 3. Okay, so now we're going on to the second half, which is the actual multiplication part. Okay, so now that we actually got that written down, we can actually get rid of some of this stuff. 3m plus 1 cancels out. And then the 2m minus 3 cancels out. So now all we're left with is the m plus 1 over m minus 3. And that is your answer for number 2. On to number 3. Okay, so number 3 is 2m squared minus 4m over 2m minus 1 divided by m minus 2 over 2m minus 1. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to factor this 2m squared expression. Take the 2 out. The 2m out, actually, because that's the greatest common factor of that. And then we're left with m minus 2. Okay, so now we are going to rewrite that. Oh, geez. 2m minus 2 over 2m minus 1. And then instead of keeping it like this, we're actually going to change this division to a multiplication and then do the reciprocal of this second one. So it's going to turn into 2m minus 1 over m minus 2. And now we can start canceling out some of these. The m minus 2 cancels out. The 2m minus 1 cancels out. And we're just left with 2m. And that is it for that one.